Okay, I'm so excited. So I'm going to spotlight your video. So do you want to just start off by sharing your story with us and like how you found the business, how long you've been in, what it's done for you?
Yes, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm super excited. Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Cassimatis, and I'm an ambassador diamond from St. Louis, Missouri. I have been in this business for 5 years now, and it rolled across my Facebook screen from my friend, Allie Antonacci. She's also an ambassador, and she's also in St. Louis. So we met through a wedding website, which is kind of like the Knot, but it was local to St. Louis. So it was all these girls that were planning their wedding, and she was a nonprofit fundraiser. I was an elementary school teacher. We met, we had girls' nights with this group, and we had kids. And so we kind of moved to the next phase. We started doing play dates and things with this online group, and she joined It Works, and I watched her promote, and I watched her earn bonus after bonus. And I was pregnant at the time with my second son and really interested in that $500 that was going to cover daycare. And so if any of you guys have little ones, you know it's like a mortgage. I was pregnant with my second son, so 2 kids in daycare was going to be crazy. And so as an elementary school teacher, who couldn't use extra money? So I gave this a try. I ran and did every single thing that she told me to do. And I said, I've never done anything like this before. If it doesn't work out, don't hate me, but let's see how it goes. And guys, I went really fast through the business, to be honest. Not really fast like Ashley Sinclair fast, but I promoted pretty quickly and was presidential dime. I was triple. I was still working full-time as a teacher. So I did this business with 2 little ones because then I had a baby and was working full-time. My husband had a full-time job and a side job. He started doing photography, wedding photography on the side because it was a passion. And we were just super busy. And I realized finally, like after 10 months, I got to triple diamond and thought, I'm making more with this than teaching. I could probably do this full time. And I just missed my kids. Having 2 kids is really hard to balance. Working and It Works, I was having more fun with that. So I ended up at the end of the school year quitting my job. I was presidential by then. And I've been home now for 3 school years. It's absolutely crazy. My husband then quit his 9-to-5 job and now has his own photography business in St. Louis. He's the top wedding photographer in St. Louis, and he really is absolutely incredible. And it's just so amazing that this company not only brought me home to do this full time, but allowed him to chase his passion of something that he didn't even know that he was able to do. And that all kind of came through to fruition through the last 5 years with this business. And I told Morgan, like a big part of my story is probably this past 2 years has been like a big change and a big aha for me because everything was easy in my business. It went fast. I promoted fast. And when I got pregnant with my third son, he just turned 1. So it was just, a year and a half ago, my business started to go downhill. I lost rank. I lost ambassador rank. I lost presidential rank. And so last December, I was being paid as a triple. And it was actually Morgan who changed my business. She doesn't even know the whole story, but one day I realized, I said to myself, if my checks get to a certain point, like I'm going to need to do something about it. And I'm either going to have to go back to work as a teacher or I'm going to have to figure it out. And I realized really quickly, I'm not going back to work. I'm going to be really honest. I'm not going to go back to a 9-to-5 after I've tasted this freedom. I'm not going to put my kids back in daycare and go back to work. So I need to figure it out. And so Morgan and your guys' team was just killing it. And I was like hearing this amazing team that's just doing so well. So I'm like, I need to check out and see what this girl's doing. So I went to Morgan's Instagram and I just saw her talking about keto coffee. And I realized right there, oh my gosh, I can do that too. What have I been doing? What have I been waiting? Because I was an ambassador diamond who was just sitting on my butt taking naps because I was pregnant, right? Losing rank, dropping my check amounts, getting frustrated. And I don't say the word like being in a funk because I hate when people say that, but I was in a funk and I was letting myself get deeper and deeper into it. And it was really when I realized, okay, I can do what she's doing. And I got myself back into action. I literally just started over again, just started working again, just started getting consistent again, that I completely turned my business around. So last conference, I was number 97 in the top 100, and this year I was 36. And it really goes to show that it's because I got back to work with my business. Before, I didn't understand when people lost rank. I didn't understand when people were in funks. I was like, just do it. And now I feel like I have the perspective of all sides of the story because I've been there. I've been on the struggle bus, and then I had to get myself off of it and back into the groove of working my business again and feeling success. I'm probably going to maintain my ambassador rank this month for the first time in 3 years. So it's pretty crazy. The momentum is here. And if you're brand new, be excited because you maybe have never, you haven't experienced it yet, but I've gotten to see this business in the momentum phase, and it's absolutely unbelievable what you're going to see happen in the next 6 months to 2 years. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell. Yeah, and I'm just really excited to share with you guys. Any questions that you have, I hope to be able to inspire you to know that you can really change your situation pretty fast.
I love that. Oh, that makes me so excited. Yeah, I never knew that part of your story. You like mentioned it today and I was like, wait, what?
I tell it to people all the time because at conference, I was at that happy hour. And you were there too. And I was talking to Mike Patilla and I was like, why am I here? Like, I looked around and I was like, all these like up and comers. And they're like, oh, it's all the newly promoted presidentials and ambassadors. And I was like, yeah, so why am I here? And they said, well, we've never had an ambassador go so low and then go so high in one calendar year as you have. Most people just quit and you didn't. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was so excited. I said, well, I'll take that as my claim to fame any single day. I was like, I will go, I was the worst and the lowest and I went to the highest. So I was like, that's fantastic. So I'll take it.
I love that. I was just going to say that because I feel like so many people like in that situation, or people that actually have been in that situation would have just said, you know what, screw it. Like, forget that. I'm not going to do this. Like, there's something wrong with the company, and they would have taken blame to like all these different things. And I feel like, I don't know if you, even felt like doing that yourself, but I'm so glad that, you didn't quit and that you didn't. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Make sure that your volume's turned up. And if you're on your phone, Angela, make sure that you're on like a speaker. Like on the left-hand side of your phone, it says speaker. Make sure you click that. But anyway, so I love that you didn't quit and that you didn't give up, because I feel like so many people would have. So that's awesome, because clearly it paid off that you're here, and that's just because you didn't quit. You didn't give up. So, all right. I wanted to ask you just some questions that some of our leaders posted that I thought were really good, and we'll just go in order. I think because they're kind of all over the place questions, so they just have different things they want to hear like from you about. So the first one that I'll ask you is, so obviously we have so many people promoting this month, and and I was gonna say you are gonna maintain ambassador this month. I'm claiming that for you. I'm excited for you. But so yeah, we have a lot of people promoting this month, and then we have a lot of people already like, dude, like we're like running straight into next month. Like we're excited, and like I'm finishing out this month strong, and I'm running towards my next promotion next month. And so what they're wondering is, starting out a new month soon, like later this week, what is the best way to go into a promotion month, and how to keep that mindset all month long and help keep your team's mindset right? Because we know promotion months can be hard. They're like a lot of extra work. So like, how do you keep that mindset of like, let's go, let's go, let's go?
Right. Those positive affirmations, guys, are so important. And if you have to write them on, for me, I was teaching full time during a lot of times when I was promoting. So I was writing it down in my planner. Even when I was working, I made sure that it was visual in front of me, and just know going into the month, you're going to work your tail off. You're going to stay up a little bit later. You're maybe going to miss some of your shows. You might need to tell your boyfriend or your spouse, whoever, I'm going to need some extra help. If you have kids, you're going to need somebody to help put the kids to bed. You're going to have a conversation with your kids and your loved ones to let them know, this month, I'm going to have to work really, really hard, but I promise it's going to pay off. And just tell yourself that you can, and know that you can. Speak to your team positively. And those positive affirmations are so important, guys. It's all about communication, especially in promotion months. Get yourself in group chats. Get yourself talking to the people that are going to be promoting, the people that you're working closely with. And every single day, communicate, what are your goals for the day? What's the part that every single person's going to play? Because of course, I love this business because it is a team sport, right? We can't do this alone. I mean, you can do it alone. It's not really fun. It's a ton of work, right? And we're okay with a ton of work, but it's more fun when you're splitting that up with a lot of people. You're motivating each other. You're inspiring each other. And it's going to really come down to communication. So I always like to have little group chats or have goals individually with each person so they knew exactly going into the month, this is what we need to do. You need to get to 400. You need to sign one person and then get both of them to 400. Really communicating every single thing that you think might be obvious. You need to run your ADBV auto ship on the 1st or by the 15th or whatever your goals are. Put that out there and communicate them with your team. Because when everyone's on the same page, it's kind of like in Finding Nemo when all the fish are like swimming in the exact same direction. You have to be doing that. And you have to, as a leader, feel like you're the person that's leading that charge and knowing that everyone's going the same direction. And it's a short time and it's a hustle time. And you might stay up a little bit later than you normally do, but the sacrifices are 100% worth it. And you just have to know that and just keep pushing and don't take your foot off the gas.
Sorry, I was writing notes whenever you were saying that. So, yeah, like whenever it's promotion month for me, Derek already knows. So Derek's my husband, and for y'all that don't know yet, but it's funny because he remembers. I mean, I literally met him, like I think I had just gone executive. So he remembers me promoting to Ruby because we worked together. So he was like, he saw me like come into the store that we worked at where we met, and he saw me like go Ruby and whatever. And so he's been around for diamond and double and triple and presidential, and he's going to be here for ambassador. And so he's seen all that stuff. So whenever I told him, I was like, all right, we're going triple diamond this month. And he was like, all right, I'll see you in June. Cause this was in May of that year. So he was like, all right, I'll see you next month. I was like, pretty much. And those sacrifices are worth it. He knows I don't go to the movies during promotion months because I can't be on my phone for 2 hours straight. So it's that sacrifice, but it's crazy because it doesn't even feel like a sacrifice. It's so much fun. And I think Lauren Ravan once on our Zoom told us, she was like, just embrace the suck of the promotion month.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's the thing. Some people are like, oh, your life is over. You never sleep. And I remember at one point I was like, but like, what do you do till like 4:00 in the morning? Like I can go to sleep, right? And so don't make yourself crazy. Use your time wisely. You can still sleep. You can still watch your favorite show. You can still have dinner with your husband. You can still put your kids to bed. Just use your time wisely. Use it, dedicate your power hours of what you're going to do during the day. We're not saying just completely give up your life, but just know you're going to work a little bit harder than usual. And that's completely normal. You embrace it. You go for it. You embrace the suck. I love it.
Yes, and people never, like, I don't ever look back on my promotions and think, like, I really wish I would have had that extra 30 minutes of sleep that night. Like, I'm excited that I stayed up and set up my posts, or, on those times where I was working 9 a.m. to midnight, staying up later and just, going all in, and I don't regret that at all. So I think that's so important, because if you just don't stop, like, we create momentum. So if we don't want the momentum to stop, just don't stop moving. And if you continue to move, an object in motion stays in motion. So it's not going to stop.
Exactly. Cammie said that the other day. Momentum's the hardest thing to get going, but once it gets moving, it's going, right? And you can put a brake on it real quick, but you work so hard to get that momentum going, to push that rock up the hill, right? And get it going. You don't want to stop it. You just don't want to stop, especially right now, because here's the deal. Momentum's happening, whether you're part of it or not, right? And so if you're not going to sign that person, you're not going to follow up with that person, there's a lot of other people out there that are. If you're not going to offer them Thermofite X, someone else will. And so you have to keep going with that momentum, and just don't stand and halt yourself. Don't stand in front of yourself.
Yes, so true. And okay, so how long have you been in the business? I forgot.
5 years.
5 years. Okay, so in all 5 years, have you ever felt like not working the business? And if so, how did you, obviously that's a yes, it's a rhetorical question. We all like don't feel like doing this every single day, but how do you keep going even on those days where you're like, man, like I'll just take today off? Like what keeps you pushing? And I know you have kids, so that's probably part of your why, but like beyond that too, like in addition to that, what all like just keeps you excited and keeps you pushing?
Okay, so there's definitely days that you don't want to work your business, right? Everybody has that, but is it Cammie or Denise? Someone says you work based off of what you want and not on how you feel. So I even had the stomach flu last week, but you better believe that I still made sure that I got a post out there and things like that, because you want to be constantly being positive, putting your business out in front of people. And it's, you know, there's going to be life that happens. There's going to be days that you don't feel like working. And I always tell people, you can take a breather. You just can't take a break. You can take a rest. You can have a day where you're like, okay, you know, I'm going to pull the covers up over my head today, but you just don't want to link those days together. That was what my problem was when I got into my funk. I was pregnant, I was tired, I started taking naps, and I started to get lazy. And the more and more you do that and you string those days together and you're not taking action, you start to forget, you start to get nervous, you start to feel self-conscious of how do I start again? I don't even know what to do. What should I post? I don't even know. But once you're in the groove, that confidence is there. And then you're like, oh, okay, someone's asking about something, or I signed a customer, that's going to keep propelling you forward. So there are definitely days that you don't want to work your business. That's why you need to have your 6 list. That's why you need to plan out your posts or plan out what you're going to be doing for your business each day. So it just becomes a non-negotiable for you. You're so used to doing it. It's just like brushing your teeth. You're going to do an Instagram story, right? Even when you don't want to, you have it planned out of what you're going to do. And then what keeps me pushing? Of course, my kids, you know, that's going to definitely push me, but I'll be really honest, like not going back to work really is what motivates me, because I loved teaching. I had my master's to be a principal. I thought I'd be a teacher for my entire life and then a principal. And since I was a kid, I thought I'd be a teacher. But it wasn't until I tasted freedom of not having to, you know, when my kid throws up in the middle of the night, not having to worry about sub plans, or being able to have a friend that messaged me and said, hey, I'm having a really hard time. Can we go out to lunch? Like, I need a friend. And to be able to drop things and do that, to be able to go on my kids' field trips, these are the priceless things that I don't ever want to miss again. So yeah, of course my kids drive me and I want to make memories. I want to go on vacations with them, but it's more about our time together that I didn't have before, that I couldn't call in personal days because I only got 3 for the school year, 3 days that I was allowed to choose what I wanted to do during the whole school year. I can't even imagine that now. So my drive, that, like I said, when I hit rock bottom in my business, my checks got to that number that I was like, ooh, if we get below that number, I'm in trouble. When I got there, I had to decide, what are you going to do, Lauren? Are you going to sit there? Are you going to quit? That's one option. I can quit and go back to work. Or am I going to figure it out? Because what this business is, guys, is continuing to figure it out. What worked for me 5 years ago does not work for me now. If you saw the ugly things that I used to post on social media that would get me like 25 people messaging me, it just doesn't work anymore. But now we have Instagram, and now we have stories, and now we have polls and all these great new things that do work. So it's all about evolving and continuing to learn, to be willing to figure it out.
I love that so much, because I think that people almost look at the ones that are like, you know, ambassador, like, oh, she must be like so good at this and like never have any struggles. And I feel like they separate themselves in their mind from the reality of like what your life really is. And it is the same struggles, you know, and depending on like what stage of your life you're in, it may look different, but like, we also struggle. Like, it's not just like some magic thing where we just like happen to be this rank, so we happen to always feel like working. We just know the power and consistency. That's what's got us here, and we know that's what's going to keep us here and what's going to keep us going forward. So we're not afraid to work. We're not afraid to put in that hard work and that effort, and being consistent, we know, gets us there. And, you know, like she mentioned before, this momentum that we have, she's like, you've never been in a momentum season before, so take our word for it. It's the best thing ever. Like, run with this momentum that we have and don't take your foot off the gas. But right now, we're having to say, like, just trust me, like, have faith, trust me. Like, I know you don't know what this is like yet, but just know that like what I'm saying is true and you'll see it. But then the longer that you're in this business, you're going to start realizing that you're saying that to your own team. And you're like, I've seen this before for myself. Like, I've seen it with my own eyes. And so continue to work that and continue to be consistent long enough to be able to see those things, to be able to say for yourself, like, I've seen it with my own eyes. This momentum season's crazy. And so ride that wave and don't stop, because what's like, I think it was Kami that was doing like a live video, and she was like, not very often do you get a chance to hit it out of the park, and whenever you do, you step up to the plate and you swing the bat. So if we have this opportunity right now to hit this ball straight out of this park, so I want us to take advantage of that. I want us to step up to the plate and not play small. So I think that's super important, and that will continue, because like the feeling follows. you may not always feel like it, but you work based on what you want and the feeling will follow. So if you don't feel like working today, do it anyways. And you getting that customer, or you having all these people saying, yes, I'm going to order on Friday, boom, you feel that again. Like, I didn't feel like working before, but now that I do, I want to keep going. And so sometimes you just have to do it even though you don't want to. You don't have to wait for the feeling to come.
I like what you said. You said something that was really good, guys. And I hope that if you're new, you just know that there's going to be days that you don't have any yeses. You get a ton of no's. But since I've been in this for 5 years, what I know that's different than what you know, because as a newbie, when I would have a day of all no's, I was like, ugh, that sucks. I wasn't a quitter, so I didn't ever get like discouraged or think, oh, maybe I should quit. Or maybe people don't want this. I never let my mind go to that negative spot because I know that people do. I just need to figure it out. It was on me. But what I know is that if I have a day of all no's, that means the next few days are going to start being yeses because I'm planting seeds, right? We go through these phases that you're going to see. If you get a whole bunch of no's, you're having the conversation in a few days, weeks, maybe even months, that's when those seeds are going to sprout. So they say go for the no, and it's not like we want no's, but going for the no means that you're talking and you're asking and you're talking to people. And so that's constantly planting seeds. And I've been in this business long enough to know that the seasons come and go and change very quickly. So I'm not going to let those no's really fluster me and make me want to quit and stop asking. They're just going to fuel me to keep doing it because I know my yes is closer than ever when I'm getting all those no's. So I hope that you guys can just borrow our confidence, like Morgan said, to know that these are total normal things. And if you are getting lots of no's and you think that for, this moment it creeps in your head of, oh, I don't think anybody wants these products. I don't think anybody wants to be a distributor. We're here to tell you that's an absolute lie. You're just getting closer to your yes. People want these products. People want this opportunity in their lives. You just have to keep sharing it.
Yes, so true. So, okay, so this kind of flows with that a little bit. So somebody said, how do you balance life with kids and a husband as well as the business, or as well as how is your business different now than it was in the beginning? And I'm going to change that a little bit because I want to know how you blend them together because I know there is no balance. Like,
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
They're just blending. So we can't ever balance everything. And before I'll let you just kind of give us all your tips and stuff, I know a girl always told me this too, and it just stuck with me, is it's like literally juggling, right? So you have 3 balls and those balls can look like whatever, depends on what your life is. Maybe it's, your kids and your job and your fitness. So you can only hold 2 balls at one time. So one of those balls is going to drop, but the goal for you is to not let the same ball fall 2 days in a row. So if you let the fitness ball drop today, you can't let that one drop tomorrow. You have to pick a different one. And so it's always just continuously balancing and blending those things together, but there is no perfect balance. That's why I like to say that you blend them all together. So how do you do that?
It's hard. I'm going to be really honest. That's the first thing I was going to say is that I learned that very early on from Pam is that, as a woman, it doesn't matter what business you're in. We wear a lot of different hats and we are very strong. We can do a lot of different things, but you can't balance everything. You can do everything, but balance, you just got to get that out. So, I have just found, and there's a lot of days that I still have to check myself, when I'm around my kids and with my kids. And my bigger boys, they go to school full time. So they're gone 9 to 4. And so I'm really making sure that I'm trying to get as much done as I can while they're gone. My baby, now it's really different when you have a baby who doesn't, notice you on your cell phone. You can work when the baby's sleeping. You can work when the baby's laying there doing tummy time. He doesn't notice. But now my baby is 1, and he definitely does notice. I don't want him, growing up looking at the back of a cell phone. So I do have to check myself many times to make sure that I'm working this business, but that I'm being an attentive mom. You don't realize I think I read it somewhere. I don't remember where I read it, that a kid looks at you for approval 74 times within an hour. And I started to notice that and look at my boys. When they're playing, they're constantly looking up to see if I'm looking and if I'm watching. So really setting those, I don't want to say office hours because I don't have strict office hours. I know a lot of us work and strive for that, but to be just aware when you're with your kids. We don't use phones, at meal times and things like that, but I communicate with my kids and I let them know because they're going to verbalize it. They'll say, Mommy, get off your phone. And of course you're like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst mom ever. But then I look at my friends. I'm like, they're on their phone and they don't do what works. Right. So you have to understand that they're working either their job. So if I was teaching, I would still be working. My husband's like, Lauren, you can't feel bad because our boys don't know parents that are working too much. They don't know parents that have to be gone all the time and traveling all the time. That's just not even their reality. So when they see you on your phone, it's just really important that they know Mommy's not playing games. Mommy's not watching YouTube videos, which is what they want to do on my iPad, right? Mommy's working so we can go to Disney. Mommy's working so she can be home and go to your field trip. And they totally get that. So it's definitely communicating with them. How do I balance it in the nooks and crannies of the day? I'll be very honest. I seldom work this business in 4-hour long chunks or even an hour long chunk. It's 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, a message here, a message there. So it's just a pretty much hot mess express for my life over here with 3 kids. But, taking your business seriously is just one of the most important things that you can do. It is like a child. It is like a relationship. It is like a spouse. If you want it to succeed and flourish, like any relationship, you have to give it time and you have to give it attention. So I do try to treat my business like it is another member of our family because I can't just put it down and ignore it and have it continue to provide for my family. So I just make sure that I'm giving as much equal time as I can to my family, to my business. And then of course, remember, you have to be you too. You've got friends, you have things that you love to do, you have self-care. It's a lot. It's exhausting to think about sometimes, but I'm either going to be busy doing this or I'm going to be busy doing another job. Because to be honest, our life isn't just like, I don't get to work forever. I want to work and I have to work. So, you just have to be honest with yourself and know that it is hard and you're not going to be perfect and you're going to struggle, but you're going to get there and you're going to achieve all that you can and you do it in a loving way and your family appreciates you for it. So I don't know if I even answered that question because it's hard. I really honestly don't think there's an answer.
Yeah, no, you did. And that was really good tips too, because I love that you said that it's hard because I think some people are like, oh, she just has it all together. But I like that you're like, no, it's hard. Hot Mess Express, I have no idea. I just do it. But I think that's that. I think that is the answer. You don't know how, but you just have to, so you do it. That is the answer. So I think if you're just in this place where you're okay, I don't know how I'm going to get this done, but I'm just going to do it. And you just resolve in your mind to make it happen. It does happen. It's crazy, how that works because you just find the time to do the things you're passionate about.
I worked full time, guys. And that was as hard as when I was at home. I've got kids at home and paying attention, of course, is what you need to be doing. It's hard to do that, but it was really hard when I was working full time. Like Morgan said, you just have to make the time. So I was listening to calls every time I was in the car. I was listening to a Zoom. I was catching up on things that were going on during the day. You constantly have to be thinking about your business. Like I said, like it's a person in a relationship, you have to give that time and attention for because it's just not going to grow without your part. So you have to find out, when are you going to do that part? Are you going to stay up late? Are you going to wake up early? Now, some people do that miracle morning thing and they wake up super early before their kids and they work out and drink coffee and, do a devotional and write down affirmations. I don't do that. I'm I need sleep. I've got 3 little boys and I like to sleep. So I don't do that. But for me, I have to find my time somewhere else. And you just have to find out what works for you and keep trying new things. And like I said, I don't know what the heck works for me, but I just make sure that I'm giving it the time and attention that it deserves.
And the thing is too, we all have the same amount of time in a day. You have the same amount of time as I do, and I have the same amount of time as Oprah, right? We all have the same amount of 24 hours, and you just have to be smart with your time. And if you don't tell your time where to go, it's going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it is true that we are limited on time. This society is so busy, but I also think it's true that we don't tell our time where to go. And I think that we waste a lot of time on things we don't even realize. We waste time scrolling and we call it working and we wonder why we're not promoting. But it's because you're putting in an average amount of work. You're not putting in massive action. You're putting in normal amount of work and you think that you're putting in massive amounts of action. And so you're oh my gosh, why am I not promoting? Why is this not happening? But it's obvious if you're looking at how many people you message, if you're looking at your posts and things like that. So I think it's really important to do an evaluation too, to see like how much time you spend on your phone. There's literally things in your settings now where you can see how much time. So I challenge y'all, if you think that, if you're like, oh my gosh, like I work all the time and don't send anybody, go look at that. Because I guarantee you're either like not on your phone, which means that you're not working the business, or you're on it so much and not on the right things. You're on YouTube, or you're on a gaming app, or I don't know, whatever. So anyways, that's just my 2 cents too. But I love the way that you said that. Like there is no perfect answer. You just got to figure it out. And what works best for her may not work best for you. So just try a bunch of things until you realize like what does work best for you. Okay, so somebody asked about your best loyal customer enrolling tips. What are you doing to sign loyal customers?
Thanks to you, I do a lot of Instagram stories. So that is where I realized I was like, keto coffee changed my business. You know, after I had my third son, I was like going to lose the baby weight and super excited. And I was like, keto coffee just came out and Morgan's posting about it. So I literally just did like what she did. And so I hear for like the youngins that like your swipe up thing gets a lot of people. Swipe up does not work for me. 35-year-olds are not swiping up. I don't know. Nobody is swiping up for me. So I always make sure that I'm doing a poll at the end of my stories. And I find that I can sign a lot of loyal customers when I talk about the products. A formula that I have on Instagram that works every time that, and I say it like it's a formula, but I switch it around. You're going to show what it is, what it does, and a poll. What it is, what it does, and a poll. So what it is can be a video of you talking to, and this literally, Morgan, I just wish that you really understood that this is like what you taught me with. You didn't even talk to me about this, but I was like, okay, there's days where she talks as she's making it, she's showing the coffee and she's talking and they're just seeing the coffee. You know, maybe she didn't do her makeup today. Like I was analyzing this, like you don't understand. So I was like, I'm going to do that today. So I literally followed the leader. Guys,
Wow.
What?
I don't do my makeup any day though.
Yeah, I know. Story of my life, right? But I was like, I have a newborn. I look crazy. I'm just going to do what she does, right? So I was doing that. And then there's some days that there's a cute boomerang and it's like, kiss your coffee cup, like, and then say something about skinny coffee. So you can show what it is lots of different ways. There's days where I just show a picture of keto coffee and I just write the words out of what it is, right? And what it does. What it does can be explaining the benefits. It can be showing before and after pictures. It can be telling about your own personal results. And then of course, always the call to action at the end. So for you, maybe it's swipe up, maybe it's a poll. I don't know what it is, whatever it is, you have to do something. Don't just end it and say like, okay, keto coffee. Like you have to tell them what to do. And don't just say swipe up and say coffee. Like they swipe up and they don't know what they're supposed to do. Well, maybe just 35-year-olds, I don't know, but like say what to do. So I found that that's going to get me customers and that's going to drum up interest every single day. I mostly do keto coffee. Thermophyte X is killing it. I do sometimes throw in hair, skin, nails, cleanse. Those are the ones that are going to get the most interest. And I can sign loyal customers all day long doing that. If people aren't voting, because it does take a while to build up your Instagram, and if you're not getting any votes before it expires, you can message people that are viewing it. Hey girl, I saw that you viewed my message about skinny coffee. Are you interested? Right? You can just message people that watched it. You used to be able to see the viewers like for days, and now they got rid of that. So you have to do it within 24 hours. And then of course, host a post on Facebook. I'm going to be really honest. I don't do a ton of Facebook because like when Morgan said about the juggling, for me, I've already told you I'm a hot mess. I just can't balance it all. I can't be like bomb on Facebook and amazing on Instagram. For me, I just can't. So Instagram is my jam and that's my bread and butter of my business. But of course I'm still posting on Facebook and I'm still, I signed somebody on Facebook the other day, but I would probably say I signed one person on Facebook to like 50 people on Instagram. That's just my business. But that doesn't mean that that's going to be for you. You just have to kind of find what works. Don't give up on the other thing. I still do it. It's just not where I see the most, fruits of my labor, if you will, right? So host a post on Facebook works really well. Instagram stories, I make sure that I link them to my Facebook. I didn't know if you know that you can do that with your stories, so they automatically go on Facebook. And follow up. You're not going to sign the customers unless you're messaging people. So Morgan, I don't know what you guys do about messaging, but I'll tell you, my friend Jade Hooper really opened up my eyes and kind of kicked me in the butt when I was like, I don't message people, I let them come to me. And she was like, well, you will never be a black diamond, my friend. And so I was like, oh, okay. And started to message, and yeah, you have to follow up, and messaging has been really a big part of signing customers for me.
I just have to say your Jade Hooper voice is on point.
Didn't that sound like, I know when I did it, I was like, oh, wow, that really sounded like her.
You channeled your inner Jade for sure on that one. That was really good. Okay, yeah, so I mean, I pretty much did the same thing, and it's crazy. I had this conversation with so many girls on my team. Some of them are newer and some of them have been in for a while, but just having that conversation of like, you know, you can free yourself from feeling like you have to do everything. I think so many times people think like, okay, like I have to do Instagram, and then they see somebody post like a YouTube video about a Facebook training, and they're like, okay, now I have to get really good at Facebook. And then they're like, okay, now I'm going to try to use Snapchat. And then like someone messaged me today and she was like, I just started using Twitter. How do I use that? I was like, girlfriend, I do not use Twitter. I don't know how to do that. Do not even have the app, and don't use it for my business, but you totally can, but just don't feel like you have to. And she was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I thought that I had to use that. And I was like, no, whatever works best for you is what you should be doing.
For me, I'm like, it's like Panera, you pick two. Like, you pick two. And for me, it's like Facebook and Instagram. I can't start picking other things. Like, people will be like, oh, have you ever heard of this? I'm like, no. Like, my brain is just closed. And I'm all about trying new things. Instagram was that new thing for me. And I was like, I'm going to become really good at this. And I have. I was never a top mass enroller all the way through my ride to ambassador. It was literally from Prez to ambassador that I was like, oh, maybe I should try Instagram. And that's when I really started like kicking up my enrollments from really steps to success, like, 3-4 people in each category, to like, oh, I can sign 30 to 40 customers now. Well, on those months where I'm like consistent and rolling with it, I can sign 40 people, which is insane to me when I was like, I hope I can sign 4. I think there was a question earlier, like, how has business changed? That has changed, guys. Before, people were so skeptical about like network marketing. It was like, oh, I don't know if I can make a commitment. People are used to subscription boxes. They're used to companies like this. They're open-minded to this industry, and they're very interested in the products because now social media has shown them. They've seen this. They've heard of it. They're just waiting to trust you and for you to ask them. So that's definitely something that's changed over time. I mean, I don't know how I totally skipped that question, but I could probably talk about that forever. I think social media has changed so much, and the Instagram stories and polls, that's when my numbers changed from signing like good small numbers to massive large numbers because of Instagram stories. Like, I literally see the numbers change whenever that came out.
And too, like, what was I gonna say? I like literally lost my train.
I don't know. I feel like Instagram stories made me like, they gave me a whole new way to work. Like, they gave me so much things, like so many more people I can follow up with and talk to, and so many more leads in front of me, that before it was like, I would sit and post something on Facebook, and if someone didn't like and comment on it, like when I first started, it was like, well, then what do I do? Like, we didn't think of post to post back then, and there were no Instagram stories, and it's just changed so much that I feel like it literally was a gold gift that Instagram gave us. And so I'm like, I'm just going to run with it. I'm just going to go with it.
And I love that you said that you were like, I'm good at Instagram, and that's what I do the most of. And it's important to know what you're good at. So many times we ask, like, what can I do better? What can I do better? Which is a good question, but like, also do know the answer to what you're good at, because so many people just want to know what they can get better at, and they're not even sure what they're good at. And so finding that thing that you're good at and doing it 90% of the time is what,
and that you like to do. Also realize how it makes you feel when you do things, right? Of course you feel nervous at first, but once you get through that, like, I still get nervous sometimes to post on Facebook. Is that weird or what? Like, I'm like, I overthink things on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm like, I don't care. This is what I ate. My kid's potty training. Like, I post everything and I don't overthink it. On Facebook, I'm like, I need the perfect post because I'm only going to do one post today and it needs to be great. With Instagram, I'm just me, and it makes me feel like me, and it's fun. It doesn't feel like work. And that's why I succeed on Instagram more than Facebook, because I'm not overthinking it. So also remember, like, what are you good at, but how does it make you feel? And don't say like nervous, because everything makes you nervous. You can't be like, oh, Facebook Live makes me nervous, so I'm just never going to do it. Everything's going to make you feel nervous. But after you've done it a few times and you're like, oh, I really liked all that feed. That was fun. My friends were talking to me and people were chatting with me. I like seeing the hearts. Then you keep doing Facebook Lives, because that's a great way to build your business. Do I do it? No, it doesn't make me feel super great, but Instagram does. So you just have to figure out you, and it takes some time, and it can change, because remember what I said earlier, this business isn't about just staying and doing the same stuff. It's about continuing to figure it out. And if something's not working for you and you're not getting results, then you need to start thinking what else you can try.
Yeah. And, just like, once you find that thing that you're good at, do it a lot. Like, spend 90% of your time doing it. And like, yeah, I use mostly Instagram. I use mostly, like polls and Insta stories and things like that. And that's what I enjoy to do. But I also know that host to post is huge. So I'll spend a little bit of time doing that, but I'm not going to sit here and try to change what's already working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So if what you're doing is working, stick with it. Even if it's working, like for you to sign just a few customers, keep at it, because that's going to snowball. Yeah, I didn't sign, 2 customers a day from Instagram whenever I first started. I'd be lucky to get 1 or 2 a week, right? Doing the same things I'm doing now. But because I've just kept at it and I've gotten better at it and I've gotten a bigger following, yeah, I sign more people now from that. But it's because I didn't quit going into it. Also, just a goal for everybody, because I heard this on the very first cruise that we went on back in 2015. And this changed everything, because I was doing all Facebook all the way up until I went Ruby. And I had sat at Ruby for almost a year, and I was trying to figure out, what can I do differently? And people were like, oh my gosh, like, I love Instagram. And I was like, listen, y'all, this is so crazy. I was like, oh, I hate Instagram. I never signed anything from that. That was me in 2015. Never once had signed anything from Instagram. Worked that like the same as I do now, never signed anything. And they said you have to get 1,500 to 2,000 followers before you'll start really seeing that like happen. And I was like, okay, that gave me a goal. And I made my goal to get 1,500 to 2,000 people following me. And when I did, I immediately, and this was like it just so happened, like it's not a magic thing, but just so happened that right whenever I hit 1,500 to 2,000, then I signed a distributor, first one ever from Instagram, and she ended up being the emerald for me to go diamond 2 months later. Isn't that crazy? So,
yes. It's like, what if you had not just opened your mind to it? It's like, well, I mean, it's crazy.
And whatever you're doing is working. Like, if you're like, dude, I love Facebook, host to post is my jam, signing so many people, don't be like, oh my gosh, I have to be just like them and I have to switch to do Insta stories. Do what's working for you. And if that's not working for you, yeah, try Insta stories. You don't have to do host to post, but you totally could. So it's just all about the person, ultimately. So hang on, I'm trying to look for all of our messages that I sent you.
Yeah, it's just so hard because we have all these Zooms nowadays. That's another thing we didn't have back then. We didn't have all these trainings that we have now. So people get really easy to like jump around of like, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do that. It's so great that we have all this training and knowledge and education, but really it's like, it can be overwhelming if you let it. So just what I try to do is I listen and I take tips and I file them back in like my little file folders of my brain for a rainy day to try out, but know that you just can't do it all. You can try all these different things and you can give them a shot sometime, but don't put that pressure on yourself that you have to be great at every single thing. Just try it on, see how it feels, and you'll find your groove for sure.
And it's funny because like people will ask me, they'll be like, can you get on a Zoom for my team? And I'll get on the Zoom and I was on one just like 6 months before and they're like, so what are you doing now? And I'm like, same thing as I was 6 months ago, the exact same thing. And like a girl texted me today, she's one of my leaders on my team. She was like, what message are you sending now on Instagram? And I was like, same one I've been sending for 2 years because it still works. Like I don't change anything if what I'm doing is working. So I mean, I know I've seen other people do other things, but like for me personally, I don't really switch it up if it's working. So I just don't. But if what you're doing is working, keep at that. And oh, Dina just said that she hit 1,500 people. So yay! That's awesome. Okay. So the last question is someone said, regaining motivation whenever it's lost. So how do you do that? And how do you get back in the saddle whenever you've fallen off? This person has taken a break for the last 2 weeks, and she said that she's been going through something really hard and it's just affected her a lot. She can't find a self-development video to get her back in that mindset. And I'll tell you what I said back to her, just because I think that some other people on the Zoom may need to hear this as well, because not everybody saw this message and this question. So this person asked that, and I told this person, I said, when you're not working your business, it feels like everything is falling apart. So I just encourage you to work in spite of how you feel, because if you work based on what you want, the feeling will follow. So work based on like what your goals are, and you will start feeling that. I kind of mentioned that earlier. And then I said the feeling of excitement and the feeling of being back in the game, like you'll get that back. So sometimes you don't need more self-development, you need action. Because if you're just doing self-development, you're only paddling on one side of the boat, so you keep going in circles, right? You're never going to get anywhere. But if you add personal development and action, now you're rowing on both sides back and forth, and you're making progress and moving that boat forward. So that's my personal tip for her, but I would love to hear what you have to say about that.
That's awesome. And you know what, guys, we talk about professional and personal development all day long. And I'm going to be very honest. I'm not a big reader. I just don't. Being crazy and a hot mess, and just, if I have an hour to work my business, I'm not going to spend it reading, right? I know that I'm a badass. There's a book called You Are a Badass, right? I know that, right? I know that I can do this. I know I can do that. And I do 100% feel confident in this business, but I really think that that's what it comes down to. It comes down to your belief, not just in the business and the products, but in yourself. So that person, I would really say to them is that, you know, you don't need to watch a video. You don't need to read a book right now. What you need to do is examine what you love about this business. What products do you love? You need to find your passion back. If it's keto coffee, then you need to start sharing about keto coffee. If it's that you love the friends that you've made from this, then you need to start posting about the friendship. You have to find something. Not for everyone, their why is not about money. Okay. You don't realize what other things that people need out there, and you don't realize what you need. Sometimes it's like, oh, I really want that $500, or I really want to achieve diamond, but why? You really need to dig into that and to the belief in yourself. Because I really think if you're missing that, you cannot move forward, and you're not going to motivate yourself to get moving until you can find excitement and passion. So it has to be about the products. It has to be about the industry. It has to be about what it's doing for your life. And if all else, do you have fun when you do this? I ask people all the time, are you having fun? If the answer is no, then what would make you have fun? I feel like so many people, they don't have sideline friends. They don't have a small group of people that they have met yet. Now, when you first get started, I was like, I'm not joining this business for friends. I want to make money. Like, why are they talking about friends? But as soon as you start to put yourself out there, you participate in your team page, you participate in challenges, you get on these calls, you start to connect with people, you start to see others, and you start to let that motivate and inspire you. You're on these calls, you're hearing all these great stories, but now, can you really believe in yourself for a minute that you can achieve this? Okay. And like Morgan said, it's the action that you put in, because if you're not taking the action, you're more and more self-conscious. You're pulling further and further away instead of leaning into it. You need to lean into your business and get closer to it than pull back in those moments where you're not feeling inspired. Because as soon as you sign that customer, and as soon as you get that hosted post that blows up, whatever it is, we know those wins are going to come when you take action. But they're not going to happen if you're not doing anything. There's not going to be one day that you just get super excited and you're like, I'm just going to work this business. Something has to light that fire, right? The match is not going to be lit unless you strike it on the matchbook, right? Something has to happen. And so sitting there and just doing nothing and feeling sorry for yourself, or telling yourself I keep posting and nobody's interested. Well, if you keep posting and nobody's interested, then you're missing something. And what it is you're not expanding your market. You're saying the same thing to the same 100 people or 500 people. There's simple steps that every single leader and ambassador is taking, and you just have to keep doing those same things. You have to borrow that confidence that we have and get consistent with it to know that if I do these things over and over again, I will sign people. Guys, it is a formula. It will happen. So if you're posting and nobody's interested, then you need to be talking to more people. You need a bigger audience because there's people out there that want it. And I say that all the time to people. They're like, I post every day. No one says anything. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say those people aren't interested, but right now, those people aren't interested. So you're going to need to go add some more people that are. Because guys, they are. Do you believe in Mark and Cindy? Do you believe in it works? Do you believe this industry changes people's lives? Not just it works. Do you believe other companies and network marketing can change people's lives? Yes. Now, if you have all of that belief, then do you believe that you can be successful? That you can get to the top of this company? That people would look at you as an inspiration? That you can change people's lives and bring this into their lives? And you have to be telling yourself yes. And if you're not there yet, then you fake it till you make it. Then you keep getting on these trainings and you keep getting inspired by other people because there's no reason that you are not deserving and worthy of the same success that I have found in this business, that Morgan has found, that so many of you guys on this have found. And it's not all about the money. It's the freedom, it's the options, it's the friends, and it's the fun. To me, it's the enjoyment of this whole process. To me, it's like an adult sorority for me. You don't get to meet a lot of people. And today's Amy Spence's birthday. She's one of my best friends. This woman just came into my life from this business. And she's one of my best friends that I would have never met. Okay. It's just crazy. So many other benefits that are out there. And it just takes time to kind of unwrap the presence of it works, unwrap this gift that keeps on giving because you're becoming a better person. You're developing as a human. You're meeting new people and you're getting uncomfortable and you're growing. So whether you're with this business for 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 years, or 50 years, you're learning something and you're becoming a better person. Okay, so I just want you to believe in yourself that you can get to that final destination, whatever that is for you, your finish line, because once you hit that finish line, you're just going to create a new one because at that point, you're going to have that belief. You're going to know that you're worthy and you're just going to keep on going. Don't even know if I answered the question.
That was good. Yeah, I think you did. That was amazing. We will just end right there because that was like mic drop material. So thank you so much for getting on this with us. I'm going to stop the recording.